everyone. Good evening. I'm once again delighted to welcome you all to what is the Muscle Health Foundation's charity's second episode in our new 2021 series of informal broadcast chats and interviews with interesting guests and fascinating personalities called In Conversation With, hosted by myself, Michael McGrath. These conversations have, as always, been created with one specific goal in mind: to, as always, bring our community of muscle warriors together, bring our beneficiaries and families together, bring our tribe across the country together, helping everyone feel a little bit more engaged and a little less isolated. As I mentioned in this year's first episode just 2 weeks ago, I can't believe 2 weeks has flown by, hasn't it? Hope is indeed all around us, isn't it? Just look across the pond at our friends in the States as a new chapter unfolds. And here back home, hope is coming in the shape of a jab. Yes, a jab as the vaccine continues to be rolled out. And for those in group 4, such as myself, those who are defined as clinically extremely vulnerable, personally, I've never really liked the descriptive, our turn is coming soon. So be sure that you let your hopes, not your hurts, shape tomorrow. So tonight, I'm once again sending lots and lots of muscle warrior positivity to you all. I'm sending healing thoughts to those of you who I know are really struggling, who are fighting each and every day. You're not alone. You're being thought of. So please stay strong. Okay, we must protect ourselves. We must protect our loved ones. We must protect each other. I'm reminded by the words of one of my heroes, the great Irish polar explorer, Sir Ernest Shackleton. I'm sure many of you have heard of Sir Ernest Shackleton, whose family motto is Fortitude Vincimus. Now, for the Latin scholars amongst you, literally translated meaning by endurance, we conquer. Speaking of endurance, let's move on with tonight's conversation. And once again, I can promise you an entertaining evening, an exciting evening, a thoughtful evening, but an evening filled with interesting information and knowledge drawn from a fascinating world that we're going to learn a little bit more about shortly. But first, before we push on, I have a few housekeeping points for you. Firstly, a safeguarding note. As always, we have eyes over tonight's broadcast, so if any inappropriate comments or behaviors are observed, action will be taken. And secondly, all episodes are indeed recorded and streamed on the charity's Facebook and YouTube channels. And as always, you can help expand our reach, amplify our message by subscribing, commenting, and sharing. I'm delighted to welcome someone who knows a thing or two about endurance, about stamina, about human performance, I suspect, who knows a thing or two about focus and speed, and someone, of course, who by default, following tonight's conversation, will be joining our Muscle Warrior tribe. Give it up, please, for Anthony Davidson. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi there.
Hi. Thanks. Good evening. Evening. Great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us this Wednesday evening, Anthony. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good, thank you. Yes, we're all keeping well here at home during these strange times for everybody. The kids are homeschooling. I'm therefore learning an awful lot myself as well. No, it's been pretty taxing, but like I say, we're all doing well.
Excellent. A lot of mums and dads out there who are homeschooling. And what have you learned so far about homeschooling? Any tips?
Teachers are seriously underpaid. that's all I can say. I'm sure it's difficult for them using the level of technology that everyone's had to quickly become accustomed with during these times. But and it comes with its frustrations, that's for sure. I'm sure everyone can vouch for that. We're all using these online platforms, and we're all becoming masters at it by now, you'd hope. But yeah, for the teachers, it was quite a new going into a new challenge this time around, I think. And there seems to be good structure there, and the children are thankfully really taking to it well. I think the children, like on many occasions, adapt to these things so much quicker than we do or the teachers can. But yeah, everybody's pulling together and trying hard, and ourselves as parents as well included in that mix. So yeah, we're all trying our hardest, and like you say, with hope for the future.
Excellent. Yes, no, indeed. Good stuff. Now, listen, before we jumped on live, you were telling me that your hands are pretty full and that you'd had not a particularly good night last night. Tell us more. What's going on with your four-legged friend?
I slept on the kitchen floor last night. Yeah, it's the highlight of my life so far. So we got a new puppy. We've been the kids have been begging for a puppy, particularly my young daughter who's 7 years old. Just, Daddy, we can have a puppy. You do know what having a puppy entails. Yeah. You really need to pull your weight with this, kid. Yeah, we do anything. So said to my wife, look, we thought long and hard about this. And yeah, it would be good when we started talking ourselves into it. It'd be a great idea. Look, it's fantastic, but I've had a puppy before many years ago in the early days of my F1 career, actually. And it's great. It's great, seeing a new life, in this world, no matter which being it is, and or species. But it's we're really getting stuck in, and the kids are learning so much as well. It's part of their school education, I think.
Excellent. I was looking earlier actually at your Wikipedia CV, because all roads lead to Wikipedia these days, don't they? And So you were born in Hemel Hempstead, Hertfordshire. So I know Hemel Hempstead quite well, particularly the crazy roundabouts that one has to drive through.
When my father took my brother there, my older brother, on the first ever driving lesson. He survived.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's cruel. If nobody's experienced the funny roundabout in Hemel Hempstead, give it a try. It's something else. It really is.
So here's what I discovered. So British racing driver, currently driving in the FIA World Endurance Championship in sports cars with Jota Sport. You've raced in Formula One for Minardi and Super Aguri, and you've been a test or reserve driver for the British American racing team Honda and Braun GP teams. I also know you're a bit of a Sky Sports F1 pundit, and in your spare time, if you've got any spare time, you're jumping into a simulator helping the world's #1 motor racing team perform even better. And of course, I speak of the Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team. So interestingly, Anthony, under the movies category against your Wikipedia profile, I thought this would be a good place to start our conversation. Under the movies category, it just says Le Mans 2012. Tell me more.
Under the movies category, did you say? Okay. Well, do you have to bring that up? Yeah, that was one of the more testing times in my career. I'm 41 years old now. Started racing when I was an 8-year-old kid. It was my 8th birthday present, actually, from my father, and never looked back. Really, it's a world I love. I love driving cars, and all the way from karting through to Formula One. Really have been living the dream. But that 2012 incident at Le Mans, I'll never forget for all the wrong reasons, really.
Well, perhaps we can come back to that later on in the conversation.
Yeah. We can do. It was a testing time, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, check out your Wikipedia profile, because it does say movies : and then it says Le Mans 2012. Maybe check it out. But anyway, speaking of movies, I happen to know that one of your favorite movies is the action sci-fi film starring Keanu Reeves, called The Matrix. And I'm sure that we've got many of our young beneficiaries who quite enjoy a bit of The Matrix and a bit of Keanu Reeves, perhaps. What is it, Anthony, about the film that you like? Why do you rate it?
Well, yeah, obviously, doing the Sky job that I do from the analysis side, I'm bit of a deep thinker with that, and it's a film that really it captured my imagination, and really it makes you think. It's so many things in there. Just think what is life all about, and is this actually real? What we're going through right now? It was in a way it was so it was so believable. They made it so believable, and all the CGI, the graphics were so good back then. At the times were back then when the film was launched. It just really captured my imagination. I love technology. So that was involved as well, and I thought it was a great movie of its time. Yeah.
So let's get into motor racing and your journey into motor racing, which you touched on just a minute ago. How did you get into motorsport? You said your dad took you karting when you were 8, and that karting story is something that a lot of racing drivers seem to mention when they kind of began a journey of motor racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I was a kid, I was into football. I played for my local football team, and actually, the first trophy I ever won was a football trophy, not a racing trophy. So, I was really into my football, and but my father was into motor racing, and I would watch it too. I'd watch the F1 races there as a kid, sucking my thumb, listening to Murray Walker, weaned on him. And how could you not fall in love with that sport as well, with his exciting voice behind the mic? And as times went on, my father he could never afford really to go motor racing himself. He saw a cheaper way a new avenue to get his kids into it. And so me and my older brother were, like I said before, on my 8th birthday, we were given the chance to go to our local kart club in Hertfordshire. A circuit actually that Lewis Hamilton, I think, began his karting career at, a track called Rye House. And so we both me and my brother both had a go that day, and one thing led to another. We started off just 6 or 7 races per year. By the time we got to the peak of my junior karting career, we did, I think I'm right in saying we did 46 karting meetings in 1 year.
Good Lord.
Which was pretty strenuous on the family, especially particularly my mother and father's relationship thing was that was a testing time, because to do a sport so thoroughly, to be good at it, you need to do it so thoroughly that it becomes an addiction. And that's basically where it led to. I lived and breathed motor racing as an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid growing up, and by the time I was 14, I knew that A, I was good enough, and B, that I had the chance to get into motorsport full time, and I was just tunnel visioned. That's how you have to be. I wanted it. I needed to be a racing driver.
Thank you for that. Let me just jump into the chat room, because there's lots of questions already coming in, and we're very early into the conversation. Giovanni Bertoli, that sounds like a racing driver, doesn't it? Sends best muscle Roy salutes and thumbs up all around. Somebody know Giovanni Bertoli? But hi Nicole, hello Michael Lenty. Just want to ask, what was your most memorable race to watch, and why? And who's your favorite driver? That's 3 questions, Nicole. So let's
get greedy now.
Yeah. Let's have fairly brief answers. We've got a lot to get through. So, most memorable race to watch?
Most memorable race. First one that springs to mind for me was Senna and Mansell in Barcelona. The wheel to wheel down the straight into turn 1. That was pretty epic driving from both such legends at the time in the sport.
Favorite driver?
Favorite driver? Well, it's either Senna. He's the favorite driver I've watched, but I think from doing research and listening to my dad's tales of Jim Clark, I'm gutted I never got to see him drive, and he'd be maybe right up there as well with one of my favorite drivers. But yeah, Senna was the favorite at the time.
Yeah. Question coming in about what is Mercedes' ARM for this year?
What you mean? Like, what can they do this year? Or
I think that's the interpretation of the question. Maybe we shall move on because it's not absolutely clear what they need
I would just say that. I mean, they're the team
to beat.
They're the team with a target on their back. Everybody wants to beat them. It's so hard to stay at the front, and they've done a phenomenal job so far to stay ahead of the competition. I think they're always coming up with some things, such clever ideas, like the dual axis steering from last season, and who knows what they've got up their sleeve for this year.
Hi to Steve. Because how realistic are the latest simulators? I'm going to come on to simulators a little bit on in the conversation, so we'll get an answer to you on that one, Steve. Barty Reddy says, "Hi Anthony, what would be your favorite F1 car that you've tested?"
Favorite F1 car that I've tested? Well, I'd have to say it's the car that I knew and loved. The car that you get to know inside and out, and it was the Super Guri. It was probably the final car that I drove, and I had good memories of driving the Brawn, but I didn't drive it that often to really know it fully. I felt really at one with the Super Guri back in 2007, and then into the beginning of the 2008 season, and it's really nice when you feel so at home in a racing car.
I think the question I asked a little bit earlier about Mercedes is actually their aim for this year.
Their aim, sorry. Yeah.
So I mean, we probably can both answer that in a nanosecond, and that's essentially to win and perform even better.
That's what it's all about, winning. Yeah. I mean, and it's tough when you get to that stage because you just don't accept anything less than a dominant victory. So it kind of spoils you in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. Corey, one of our Muscle Warrior beneficiaries over in Bedfordshire. Hi, Corey. Wants to know the highlight of your racing career. If we can keep this one fairly brief, I'd be really grateful.
Okay. Highlight of my racing career was winning the World Championship in sports cars 2014.
Excellent. Yeah, very, very good. Very good. And then one more, then we're going to continue our conversation. Nick says, "Hi, Nick. Asked, what's the best circuit that you've raced on?"
Oh, raced on. So I say best circuit I've ever tested on, Suzuka. Best circuit I've ever raced on, let's say Monaco.
Okay. Yeah. So just broadening the conversation slightly, I happen to know that somebody watching this evening who has a love of all things Ferrari. He comes from a beautiful family. They're all Italians. And the clue is in the name, Gianluca, and he's got a couple of questions, and I wanted to ask these questions myself. So number one is what is it like, Anthony, going from Formula One to endurance racing? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so going from F1 to endurance racing, a lot of it's obviously in the mind. And Formula One, like I said before, when you're at the peak, like Mercedes are, you don't accept anything less than victory. And it's the same kind of thing for a driver when you're in F1. You never want to leave that exclusive club, and you don't want to really go and do anything else. You don't want to leave that. You've worked so hard to get there, and like I say, you blinkered from the ground up to get there. And once it all comes crashing down, it really disturbs you mentally, I must say. And there'll be a few drivers going through that or have gone through that at the tail end of last year. It's adjustment, and humans don't like adjustment. We like familiarity, and yeah. So mentally very tough. But as soon as I started driving these fantastic cars in LMP1, sports cars in general, it was a whole new world that I was gutted I never found before. When I was going through all the years of testing in Formula One and kind of pulled myself away from competing in racing events, I wish I had just found sports cars earlier in my career and dovetailed the two together.
I've got a question for you about technology and the part that it plays in your sport. When you look back maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and where we are today, and the pace of technology in playing its part to help racing teams perform even better. What's your perspective on where that advancement of technology is going?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Like I said before, I love technology. I love how it's infiltrated into motorsport, into even the road cars that we drive today. It's we can't stop it. That's what you quickly learn, and you either keep up with it, or you do get left behind and become a little bit cantankerous about it. But I like to accept change. I like the fact that it is there. I'm fascinated by what it can bring in terms of lap times to a Formula One car, perhaps, or even to aeroplanes and things like that. How they autopilot, for example, or the fact that the Eurofighter has to rely on the electronics for the pilot to optimize the performance of the plane. And rightly or wrongly, Formula One is heading in that direction. It's a very good question. I don't know where the end point should be. But like I say, you can't stop it. We've got hybrid technology now. Electric is coming. I'm sure we've already got Formula E. And, I never thought when I was growing up doing karting, let alone driving a diesel-powered racing car, that seemed unthinkable. When I ended up driving a diesel-powered car with Peugeot, to then think about a hybrid and an electric car, it's too futuristic. You just wouldn't, as a 10-year-old child, I would never ever have believed it. But here we are.
It's funny you should say that. I've got a message just popped in from a chap called E. Musk. I'm just joking. When he, it took him 10 years with an idea, and everyone said it's ridiculous. And 10 years on, look where Tesla are at as a global brand. And so I'm just using that as a important example, because when you look at the world of F1 and you look at the part that technology has played, I would always want to know that the person driving the vehicle has that edge, and because that person has trained, knows that car inside and out, and has done everything that you did, when you were training and learning your craft, and is the best driver with the best car, rather than the best car with the best driver, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's always been the same old question: is it the horse or the jockey? And motor racing's the same. You only have to look back through the years, and this debate rolls on and on and on. Yeah. But that's part of the fascination with Formula One: who really is the best driver? And I think it's that degree of technology involved in Formula One that moves it away from being just kind of a pure sport in many ways, and it's almost like a NASA-esque edge to it as well, where look at the amount of people that turn up to watch space rocket take off. Huge fan base just to watch this amazing bit of technology fly into outer space. And Formula One, when you see a Formula One car in the flesh, it's you get the same goosebumps as that. And I was speaking to some of the engineers just the other day, and this is something I didn't know. They said to get into Formula One as an engineer is probably harder in many ways than even joining NASA. And I didn't know that. I never thought that would be the case. But look, they're the ones that have done the studying and put their CV in everywhere, in every industry. These engineers don't just join a Formula One team because they love Formula One. They're pure engineers, and they get a kick out of problem solving, no matter where that may take them. So, that's what Formula One has in its favour as well. It's not just driver and car, or it's not just driver. It's that combination of the whole team and driver coming together, and who knows really who the best driver is.
Well, the best driver is the one that's, I suppose, in my opinion anyway, the best driver is the person that goes past the flag first and does it again.
You have to look at glimpses, and we saw that last year in one of the races in particular. Stands out to me is Istanbul, where Hamilton was, for me, one of his best races in a class of his own that day. Very few mistakes. Everybody made mistakes that race. It was incredibly hard. Yeah. But he ended up at one point in the race, he lapped his teammate in the same car. He had the same opportunities that day, and through driver skill alone,
Yeah.
he lapped his teammate, and that was incredible driving. And it's moments like that where you can go, oh yeah, that's where a driver really made the difference on that occasion. Not always, but that particular occasion, definitely.
Because they're dealing in microseconds of decision making, split-second decision making in terms of all the things that they need to be considering. When they approach a corner or a new circuit, whatever it may be. There's so many facets that make up that moment in being the best and in getting the best performance out of the whole team. Because yes, the driver has to drive the vehicle, but actually it's the whole team. And it'd be interesting to get your perspective on how important every single element of that team has to come together in perfect unison to deliver the result.
Yeah, I mean that's really one of the most eye-opening moments is when you go to a Formula One factory and you see how many people are involved to put these two cars on the track to drive around in circles.
Yeah.
1,000+ employees, for example, down the road in Brackley. And it's mind-blowing, really is, that you think, wow, all of this effort and every single person in that team pulls their weight, has value as part of that car's success on the circuit. And the lucky two drivers get to actually sit in the thing and pedal it around. But it's really that combination of this team. It's like I was likening it to making music. You can have as many musicians out there with the best instruments in the world, but you need a conductor to bring it all together to make music, because otherwise you've just got loads of people playing instruments, and you need that hierarchy, that structure in place to bring these 1,000+ people together to do the job, to go and win a world championship.
It's a nice analogy. I remember it was such a privilege and an honor to be extended an invitation to get into the factory in Brackley and Mercedes and have a look around, and I came away thinking I just left a surgical theater in a hospital. It was so immaculate, and everything had its place, and you got a real sense that everyone there knew exactly what they had been tasked to do. And you're right, the drivers just sit in and pedal around the circuit. They're lovely for that.
I say just, but yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if Formula One is heading in the right direction or not with all of this technology. I can't answer that. And maybe Formula One has been better in the past. Maybe it'll be better in the future. But I think to focus on the now and appreciate what goes into it, not just from the team's point of view, from the driver's perspective as well. It's like anything; they make it look easy. That's the thing. If I were to jump in one of those cars tomorrow, or any other professional racing driver, and try and compete against those 20 drivers on the grid, it's extremely tough. The level is very, very high. Yeah.
So we spoke a little bit earlier before we jumped on this evening, and you said you like to be the guinea pig. So actually, we're doing something new in our In Conversation With series in 2021, and we're introducing a couple of very quick fire rounds to get to know our guests a little bit more. So here we go. You ready? Marmite, love it or loathe it?
I'll give it a go.
So Marmite, love it or loathe it?
In between.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I go against the marketing.
Okay, that's cool. We'll go with it. So when Anthony's not working, how do you like to spend your time?
I've got. I'm very lucky to have my own simulator at home, so you'll often find me locked away in my man cave playing iRacing. Yeah,
fantastic. I love it. What are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading Harry Potter with my sons.
Great.
Which is brilliant. I've never read it before.
I love it. Your first car?
A Vauxhall Nova, 1.2 Starfire. Yeah.
One thing that you're excited about coming up in 2021?
Getting the vaccine, hopefully.
Good. No, spot on. Okay.
Not wearing a face mask.
Yeah, that would be nice. Most used emoji on your phone?
The laughing, crying face.
Scrambled or poached eggs?
Scrambled.
Got a bucket list?
Not really, no, because I've done so much. I've seen so many countries and I've done so much traveling. Bucket list is to stay at home more and watch my kids grow up because I don't get to see them enough.
Keep feeding Maple, your puppy.
Yeah.
And last one in this quickfire round: favorite superhero?
It's got to be Superman. Yeah.
Good. Clark Kent.
Clark Kent. Yeah, the original.
The original. So I got another question here lined up for you, but before I ask it, Anthony, I want to give a shout out to a wonderful family that I had the pleasure of meeting back in 2016 on the charity's Porsche Muscle Dream program, which we do annually. It's kind of like our signature program. So I want to give a shout out to the Stride family, who I know have tuned in tonight over in Shropshire, I believe. And I also want to give them all a special Muscle Warrior salute to them all there. So I'm going to ask Grace to pop up a slide, and we're going to say hi to Chris and Sally here. You can see them pictured here, Chris and Sally, and their son Harry. And as I said, Harry was one of our Porsche Muscle Dream program participants. And as you can see, they're all sporting that Muscle Warrior T-shirt that I know you so desperately want, Anthony. But we'll have a conversation about that towards the end of our chat this evening. If we could just pop up the next slide. So here's a picture of Harry giving a bit of a thumbs up before heading off onto the Porsche circuit, and then onto the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone, the iconic Grand Prix circuit there, which I'm sure you've been around a few times, I guess.
Yeah. A few times. I'm pretty sure. I think I might have met Harry before. I'm not sure, but
hold that thought. So I'm going to put you on the spot here in a second. Actually, now I happen to know that when Harry met Anthony, that kind of rolled off the tongue quite easily. It was actually indeed in Brackley, at the Mercedes AMG F1 factory, and Harry was on a work experience program, I believe. So if we can just have the next slide.
There we are. Yeah.
There you go. There's the evidence. And so you met Harry.
Yeah.
So do you remember meeting him now? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I do. Oh, it's so embarrassing. I'm wearing my bad overalls that day as well. I've got much more shiny. No, that was fantastic. You know, in the sim room down there. It was great. A great day, and I like giving people the chance to see, because this is really behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
It's something that money can't buy. To go into an F1 factory and see their sim program up and running. We were doing proper work that day as well. Not just for show. So a proper structured program going on that day. So that I'm glad that I can show people, anyone that has that chance to come along, show them that insight, show them that world that really only a few people get to see. So I know how privileged, how lucky I am to be there doing that job, and to be able to share that with people like Harry is fantastic.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I know it's a very, very special moment. Let's just talk briefly, and just perhaps we can just keep that slide up for a second, and just talk briefly about simulators and how they've become, to play such an important part. And my own experience of simulators is actually, this is true, I've got 10 hours of flight simulation time on an L1011, which, for those that don't know what an L1011 is, it's a TriStar. And so I got 10 hours in a flight simulation time, and so I kind of get and understand about simulators. Talk to me a little bit about F1 simulators.
Oh, that's good. It's good that you have some understanding, because so many people haven't got a clue why they're so important. And I didn't know we were going to get onto this topic. I assumed we would, but I didn't want to get into it too early. But this is part of the reason why I love the technology in racing. It's amazing how, again, the engineers can turn what happens on the circuit in a real life situation basically into ones and zeros, and recreate that in a computational world, to the point where you can be driving a motion simulator like the one that we got on the slide there, the day that Harry came to have a look at. A motion simulator to give you all this, to try to replicate as many of the sensations you'd get in a real car. Everything that it's been plumbed into the sim there has come from the real car, so it doesn't just feel realistic. The numbers you get from the sim therefore are realistic as well, and that definitely helps not just develop future cars, but also helps develop the car at the track, even on that day, going through different setup permutations that they have available. Back in the day when I did, say, Formula Ford or Formula 3, you'd turn up to the circuit and you'd have a rough plan of what you wanted to try, and you'd be able to make numerous setup changes, but you do it on the fly most of the time, just almost like a suck it and see. But Formula One have their setup options these days ready to go before they even go to the circuit. The car is pretty much in the right window where it needs to be, based from all of their simulations. And don't forget, the wind tunnel is a simulator as well. It just simulates the airflow over the car. Again, factored into all the information they're getting from the real car, from the track. So, and then from those options, we test them in the sim. So it would be, my days there in Brackley will be testing option A versus B versus C versus D, and you always come back to A as your reference. That we call it the baseline. And so you'll only ever measure A versus B, back to A, or A versus B and C, then back to A. And the beauty of the sim is that nothing else changes. It's just the one item that you're changing, that you're focusing in on. Whereas at the circuit, what happens quite often, and I've done so much of this, I think I spent 6 years as a test driver in Formula One, the real world elements like the wind changing, getting stronger or different direction even, the temperature of the circuit, the temperature of the air, all of these different factors come into play and can skew your results. So when you're looking for just 1/10 of a second, like you mentioned before, that's what they work in. Just 1/10 of a second would be a huge gain in lap time. They open a bottle of champagne if they find 1/10 a lap, these guys. So when you're looking for those fine margins from lap to lap, it doesn't take much on the circuit to change and skew those results. And that's where a simulator, with all of the different variants being a constant, suddenly you can start to do proper testing that then can be relayed to the offline simulation, they call it, and then it can use those numbers to crunch through millions of tests in the blink of an eye. So, but you always need a human to be on the other end of the wheel. Basically, we're making mistakes. That's what humans do best, isn't it? We make mistakes. We push the technology too far, and we start sliding. And when you start sliding, you get into the realms of balance. And you quite often hear the drivers talking about, the balance, or even pilots, the balance of a plane. And that's why we need to, like, the motion on the simulator as well, to give us that sense of balance. Whereas the computer driver just knows where all the grip is, so it sort of sticks to its parameters and never goes over that grip. So the human behind the wheel we start to feel what the balance of the car is like. And sometimes a driver in the simulator or the real car will say, I know the computer says it's faster, but I feel really uncomfortable driving this, and I haven't got the confidence. So they take it in a different direction. With the setup work or the new parts that are in the making.
So do you mind asking when do you provide recommendations as a result of your simulation activity? Are you able to then
Oh, all the time.
feed all the time? You're providing information,
Yeah.
feeding information into, I don't know, the telemetry or to other people in the team to say, look, this particular circuit provides these sorts of challenges or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you say, it's when you enter the factory yourself, all of the people know their position, and so like my immediate sim crew are very much part of the race strategy and of in terms of performance of the car pre and post event. So yeah, that's quite often what I'm working on, but it can be the stuff I really enjoy are the future developments as well. So, things that are in the pipeline, new concepts that are being thought. And that, again, the beauty of the sim is that you can run some pretty wacky concepts sometimes. So look at DAS, for example, the dual axis steering I mentioned. That was tested in the sim before it hit the circuit. And I felt the effects of that before it ever went on track. And these are the kind of things you can test in the sim and give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. And I love all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate there are some people out there saying we don't need all that. Bring back an HPAD gearbox and get rid of power steering, and just like the good old days. But like I said before, you can't stop it. You have to embrace it. Yeah.
So, question. I'm going to jump back into the chat room. There are lots of questions popping. I'm going to go through these quite quickly, and I really appreciate some quick fire answers if we can. So, do you think you could? From Chris. Hi, Chris. Do you think? Good to speak to you earlier, by the way, Chris. Do you think you could beat Valtteri or Lewis? Now, is that in the simulator or on the track?
Well, I know I can match them in the simulator, but that's a completely different thing. I know I say they make it as realistic as possible, but look, you can never replace the real thing, and that's why anything that's tested in the sim or the wind tunnel, it's very different to what ultimately can happen on track. And those elements I was talking about, you're battling all the time, and in reality, the wind changing and the track changing, and the tires changing and going up, that's a skill set that someone like Valtteri and Lewis will have, and all of the other drivers that are constantly doing it. Whereas I get to, of course, if you just pound around doing the same car round, you'll get to a good lap time in the end. But the real skill comes from finding that in the real world straight away.
Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't a quick fire answer.
That's good. Gianluca, hi, hello, Gianluca says, what was Sato like as a teammate?
Takuma Sato, very quick. Yeah, he especially in the high-speed corners, and I'm not surprised that he's gone on to win the Indy 500 multiple times now, because that's what it's all about, the bravery in high-speed corners. He was always good there.
Excellent. A question from Josh. Hi, Josh. Good evening. Hope you're good. Anthony, who inspires you? Who inspired you, or who inspires you?
Inspired me, I would say Nigel Mansell inspired me when I was growing up watching F1. I'd say as a team boss, I'd say Toto Wolff really inspires me. I think he inspires a lot of people at the circuit and away from the circuit. He's a professional. A lot of people at the team that would they hang on his every word. They really do. He's one of the good guys, definitely in the paddock.
Good stuff. Mark Lawson asks, would you like to drive the Indy 500? Yes or no answer on this one, please. I'll have to press you on a yes, no.
I'd have to say no. I've seen too many of my friends get hurt there.
Okay. Mel is asking, what do you think will happen between the new driver pairing of Chico and Max? Will Seb recover his mojo?
Well, yeah, Seb, I hope so. I really hope so, and it would be good for the brand at Aston Martin as well if he could. But yeah, let's wait and see. Checo, let's see how we go. I've got high hopes. I hope he can do well. All signs point to yes, but you never know. Max is a pretty special driver.
Okay, I'm going to take 3 more from the chat room, and then we're going to get back to our core conversation. Paul Halliday Fordham. Hi, Paul. Hi, Ant. What do you think about Peugeot returning to sports cars with the anticipated hypercar, given that you drove the 908?
Well, look, I know how strong Peugeot can be as a operation, and it's fantastic that sports cars needed a shake-up and a bit of a revival, and that it seems like it's happening. It's great news. The more the merrier, I'd say. More manufacturers, the better.
Good. Jordan's tuning in. Hi, Jordan. Good to hear from you. Hope you're good. Out of all the young F1 drivers currently, who do you think personally stands out in terms of talent?
Oh, I think George Russell does. What he did at the end of last year when he was given that one brief opportunity is honestly what he did was very, very special. It shouldn't be underestimated what he achieved that weekend.
And Jem's popped in a question: could we reach a point when online gaming replaces physical sport? Could motor racing, for example, give way to virtual racing in terms of its popularity as a spectator sport?
Popularity or replace it? I mean, they're two very different crowds, I would say. I think they both have their place, and I think that esports will continue to grow. I've been a part of that myself. It is exciting, and it's hard as well. Some incredibly talented drivers there, in their own right. And I think, in reality, they're two different things, and I think they both have their place.
Speaking of talent, all right, I know that you like a bit of a challenge. So I've got a little question, a little. You don't know what's coming now, do you? The element of surprise. I love it. So a little question, actually, and this is a question directed to you, Anthony, from Harry tonight, who I know is tuning in. So are you ready for this?
Yep, I'll give it a go.
So, Anthony, you've driven in many sports cars. You've driven F1 cars. You've driven Le Mans. I wonder how well you think you could drive Harry's new VW Caddy, and if you think you could go faster. All right.
Well, Harry.
I'm going to ask Grace to pop up a little slide here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just
Caddy, eh? Oh, look at this. So
in September last year, Harry passed his driving test, which is an amazing achievement. I know that his mum
amazing. Well done.
Must be extraordinarily proud of him. But he's throwing the challenge down to you, Anthony. And he wants to get you in his VW Caddy and just see whether or not you can drive faster than he can.
On a track, I take it, yeah.
Of course.
I was
going to say. Very good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, right. Just lay that down first before we go any further. Yeah. Okay. So helmets on, seatbelts on a track.
Absolutely. All of the above.
Right, well, this sounds like a great job. Well, Silverstone's just down the road, Harry. So from me. But look, if one thing I would say, racetracks destroy road cars.
Yeah,
they're not made to go around racetracks. any road car.
Hey, but you know what, Anthony? I reckon we should give Harry, one of our charities, Muscle Warriors salutes as a sort of celebratory. Well done, Harry, on passing in September last year.
Fantastic.
Great stuff. Fantastic. Awesome. So back to our second quick fire round. You ready for this, Anthony?
Yeah, let's do it.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Muesli.
Favorite board game?
Chess.
If you could teach one subject in school, what would it be?
Science.
Merlot or Molten Brown?
Merlot.
Okay. So talk to me about logistics. That was one of the topics that popped up on your briefing form. Logistics and kind of what's gone on in terms of COVID-19 and how you're managing and how teams are managing in terms of having to change and adapt.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody's had to adapt during these times in all walks of life and all forms of business as well. But what a challenge Formula One had last year. I'm incredibly proud to have been a part of that last year. As hard as it was for everyone involved, and I didn't do every race, but I think Ross Brawn summed it up brilliantly well when he said, if there was ever a group of sporting people that could come together and make this work, it would be Formula One, because it's the way they think, it's the way they go about it. And I know there were some cases, but some cases out of thousands of people flying around the world, setting up station at the track and catering on a mass scale, to get away with it as lightly as Formula One did is testament to the attitude that the majority in the paddock had. And honestly, everyone approached it as scientifically as possible. And amazing. It was so hard. It wasn't fun. Honestly, I know people think, yeah, but it's the dream job, but it was so hard. I mean, this blimmin' virus has taken its toll on so many people, and I know we're lucky, to still be here. Many aren't, and it's terrible. And we're all sick of it and bored of it and worried by it. But at least we could keep the show on the road and give people a chance to still tune in to watch Formula One. I know the fans couldn't most of the time come to the circuits, but they could watch it on TV and have a bit of escapism, because that's what sport is really. We think when we're at the track, especially when you're in the car, you think it's life and death. The lap time is life and death. And it has to be, because otherwise you wouldn't be any good when you're behind the wheel, and the teams wouldn't be any good if they didn't have that attitude when it comes to winning. But at the end of the day, it's just sport, it's entertainment, and it's escapism, and we still were able to make that happen and give people that chance to escape on a Sunday afternoon and to watch some fantastic racing. I think that we went to some new old tracks, and yeah, it's like seeing old friends in a way. But I think that came across on TV as well, and we stayed as enthusiastic as possible. But my goodness, like after your 40th COVID test or whatever it was, you just think, please just get me home. On the 16th of December, you think, please, if I test positive in Abu Dhabi, I'm going to miss Christmas. So we were all so scared, and for so many reasons. But yeah, it was nice to get through it, and I'm glad we did. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm going to try and get a few more questions from our chat room, and Steve's asking, I think we can keep this one fairly brief, Anthony, if you don't mind. What is the secret to driving fast?
Secret to driving fast. Conversely, it is about respecting the entry speed into a corner. It's a balance. It's like a gamble, basically. How much speed, especially in qualifying, how much speed do you carry into the corner? It's not all about bravery, high speed commitment, and people imagine that when they haven't raced before. It's not about bravery. Actually, like I say, conversely, it's about focusing more on the exit of corners and minimizing your losses, but maximizing the entry speed as much as you can, as much as you dare, without it spiraling out of control and losing time on the exit. So you're constantly playing with those margins all the time. So that's really the key to a fast lap time. Yeah.
Gareth asks, how quickly would an F1 driver learn a new circuit?
It's different today because of the simulations that are available. It's so I learned the Nordschleife in computer world, and the first lap I drove around the Nordschleife, I knew where I was going pretty much, and then you just have to work on the details. And I would say to learn where you're going takes 3 or 4 laps. Just to know where, and we've all got this incredible skill of, I call it like videographic memory. That's one attribute that most F1 drivers will have. We've got very good short-term memory for moving images, basically. And whenever I play one of those board games with my mum when I was a kid, those memory games, you flip the squares over, I would always win. Maybe she just let me win because I was a kid. But anyway, I was always really good at remembering where they were, and that's one of the key things you need to be a driver.
Harry's dad. So I'm going to kind of try and we're running out of time here, but we've got so many questions. I'm trying to get a few more. Harry's dad is saying, do you think you could? So yes, no on this one, please. Do you think you could beat Valtteri or Lewis?
No.
Either or. No to both.
And no to both. They're too good at their trade.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the America's Cup?
No, I haven't, unfortunately. No, I'd like to.
Would you encourage your son to get into karting?
Yes, I would. He's been a couple of times, just for fun, though. He's, it's so expensive these days. That's the problem. Very different from my day.
One of our Muscle Warrior beneficiaries is asking the question, so Ant, if I play the F1 video game really, really well, and I play it well enough, does that mean that I could have your job?
Maybe, yeah. Keep playing. That's all I did.
Keep playing. And last question to you, Jean-Luc, actually, favorite road car. Do you have a favorite road car, Anthony?
Favorite road car. They're all so good these days. That's the problem. I honestly, I don't have a one favorite.
Okay.
I don't, but it'd be something modern, definitely.
Yeah. So a couple of quick things, and then we're going to have to draw the conversation to a close because we're about 3 or 4 minutes left. It's been a great conversation. Enjoyed it very much. So do you know what? We all recognise that now, more than ever, we all need something to lift our spirits, don't we? So let's talk about food. Common denominator. Passion for you?
Japanese food. I love sushi.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I make it myself sometimes, where I love it.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, we'll be round yours at some point over the weekend. Very good. Final question, really, to close the evening's conversation off, Anthony. What is the best bit of advice that you've been given?
Best bit of advice I've been given, my driving career at least, was actually from Gilles de Ferran, a Champ Car legend, twice winner. And I worked with him during the BAR Honda days back in 2005, I think it was. And I was getting stressed about the future and where I'd be, and would I sign as a test driver at the time? Would I ever get into the race car? Blah, blah, blah. And he said, look, take care of the present and the future will take care of itself. I thought that is, you can fit that into a lot in other walks of life, definitely.
Sound advice. I'm going to throw one more question at you, which is, what steering wheel do you use?
What in the simulator?
I think it must mean, yes, in the simulator.
Yeah, Pro Sim. It's a Pro Sim steering wheel.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. and there, very good. And there endeth our conversation. Huge thanks, Anthony, for being such a great guest. If I could invite you to give your best Muscle Warrior salute, please, to all those that have tuned in this evening. Fabulous. Nice one. Before we finish up, I'd like to get everyone's feedback. So please, as usual, jump on the charity's Facebook page where you'll find our Survey Monkey. 30 seconds of your time, quick questionnaire online. Any comments so we can improve the broadcast and make it even better for you? That would be really, really terrific. And if you've enjoyed tonight's episode, please do make a donation, however small. Every penny counts right now, and knowing that you're going to be helping us change lives and give hope so we can continue to deliver our virtual muscle dream activities. And thank you so much in advance. And Anthony, I've got to ask, if you know someone perhaps who you think would make a great guest for one of our future In Conversation With episodes, please do have a think and let us know. And finally, drum roll. So this is a plug for our next In Conversation With guest. Drum roll sound effect. Brrr, taking place in 2 weeks' time on Wednesday, the 3rd of February, same time, 7:30 for an hour. And this time we have, I can't believe it, another special guest, also born in Hertfordshire. I don't know what it is with Hertfordshire tonight. And so
that roundabout.
Yes, those roundabouts. Sticking with the motor racing theme, this person started racing karts. Here we go again at the age of 12. Now, right now, I know that all of you who've tuned in this evening must be thinking, really? No. Has he? Is it? Is it LH44? Sadly not. Perhaps a future guest, Anthony. Anyway, this person has also achieved
I'll work on it.
this person has achieved many things in the world of motor racing. And tune in to learn what it's like to be overtaken by David Coulthard in what was her very first race. And this lady holds a car race license, as well as, get this, a powerboat racing license. All right. And after supplementing her income as a racing instructor at Silverstone Circuit, she also undertook a dual career in journalism, where she worked on numerous British motor racing magazines, including Auto Express, What Car, and Performance Car. And get this, serendipity or what? We did not orchestrate this moment in time, I can assure you. I gather that there's a very special link between your dad, Anthony, and this person. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know how much I can give away, but you're right.
Oh, you can give it away. In fact, why don't you announce our guest in 2 weeks' time?
So the guest in 2 weeks' time is daughter to the man that used to tune my go-kart engines. And I raced against her brother, Charlie Bartlett-Henderson. So Vicky Bartlett-Henderson is the guest.
Fantastic. Big thanks once again.
Small world.
Very small world. Huge thanks to our guest, Anthony Davidson, and to Kate, not Kate, to Mel, and of course to Jem, to Mel, Jem, Grace, and everyone in the studio. You guys, again, thank you so much for supporting tonight's show, tonight's conversation. Have a great rest of the week. Take good care. Stay safe. Bye-bye for now.